Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about the importance of perspective and possible perspective change when you're going through a very difficult situation, and how a tough situation can have a really positive ripple effect into other areas of your life. Now, if you're new here, I had brain surgery a year and 4 months ago in November of 2023. And when I was going through that process, like when I found out I had a tumor, when I found out that I was going to go the surgery route instead of medication, you couldn't tell me that there was any positivity in that situation. And if you would have told me that or tried to explain that to me in the moment or in that process, who knows how I would have reacted, but it wouldn't have been in a good way, because when you're in the thick of it, you can't really think outside of the box too well, or at least I couldn't. But now that I'm past it and I can look back and reflect on everything that happened, I can see where there were many uh, positive things that were happening to me, and I just, like I said, I couldn't recognize it, but it has had such a great impact on me. Like, I basically went through a really bad situation in the best way possible. When I started thinking about how much worse it could have been, that helped to put things in perspective. When I started to think about, the close proximity that I was in to some of the best surgeons in this country and arguably in the world, in this specialty, I was like, that was just, it was so lucky that I live in Maryland and I was so close to Baltimore to be able to go to Johns Hopkins. When I was thinking about how my insurance never fought me on this, that was also a big thing. It didn't cause me a lot of financial strain or anything like that, which I know for a lot of people is not the case, but I was grateful that, that was the case for me. And it's opened my eyes to what I can go through in terms of overcoming adversity. And not to say that I just want to have a struggle life, like nobody wants to have that, but I have a very realistic view now of what life is going to entail. And I don't have any kind of unrealistic expectations that I'm not going to go through anything difficult just because I'm me. Because I kind of had that mindset unknowingly, whereas I hadn't really been through anything super serious before this. And so I just never thought about going through anything difficult because it hadn't happened. So I didn't really have to put mental energy into thinking about what's that next thing that's going to happen to me. Whereas now I kind of do, because again, I'm more realistic. I'm like, something's going to happen. I'm hoping it's not as serious as, having to have brain surgery again or something on that level. But I know intimately that obviously my life is not perfect. I'm not perfect. And, things come up. And the way that we approach them will have such a big impact on the result and on your mental health in general as you're going through it. So, now I can look back and see how my life has improved since then. And I will say, having a brain tumor and going through brain surgery is one of the best things that has ever happened to me. 100%. Again, I had to get far enough away from the surgery and recovering and everything to be able to see it like that. But, I am even more grateful for my life. Not that I ever took my life for granted or, anything like that, but I am more grateful to my life. I'm a lot more spiritually in tune. That's probably the biggest component of this whole experience, is how much deeper my spirituality has gotten. And for that reason alone, I am grateful for going through this. But it's helped me with public speaking. I've talked about that in the past. And, now I don't love public speaking yet. I know that I'm getting close, or I'm on the way to loving it. I don't love it yet, but I enjoy it a lot more. And my experience with surgery has definitely pushed that forward, So I'm just, I walk around with a lot more gratitude than I ever did before. And I wouldn't say my personality has changed. Well, it's changed a little bit in certain areas. Like, there are certain things where I understand fully the impact of stress on the body, and I try to reduce my stress as much as possible in areas that I can control and in people that I'm around, in situations that I put myself in. So I'm a lot more cut and dry with that, or I've established boundaries with myself and with others, and stuff like that, into what I'm willing to accept and not accept, and situations that I'll put myself in or not put myself in. So with that, I'm a lot more black and white. Like, it is what it is. If it's not like this, then I'll just remove myself from the situation. And then I'm a lot more willing to do things that are uncomfortable. And I talked about this in a previous video about the importance of putting yourself in, or the importance of experiencing negative emotions, but negative in a good way or in a safe way. Like, if you have social anxiety, or if you have fear of public speaking, if you have a fear of the gym, like purposely putting yourself in a situation where you feel anxious, but it's for a better cause overall, if you stick with it. So I'm much more willing to do those things. Whereas in the past, I would try to avoid them at all costs. But now I'm like, well, I survived somebody drilling into my skull, I'm pretty sure I can survive whatever this anxious, situation is. And I am so happy for that. So happy. And the positive ripple effects. Yeah, so just in pretty much every aspect of my life, brain surgery has had a positive effect on it. I'm so grateful for the people around me, the people who have supported me, all of the lessons that I've learned. And so if you are going through a difficult situation, whatever it is, try to focus on the positive, because there's a positive in every situation, whether it's just the learning lesson, whether it's, something financially, ends up happening on the one end, or if you're able to, if you have like fog over your eyes, so to speak, in a certain situation, maybe that fog can be lifted and you can see a situation or a person or a place for what it truly is. And then you can make a decision on how you're going to, approach it going forward. Or if you just need to cut ties, there's always a positive learning lesson in any bad situation you're going through. And it's important, I think, to focus on that as you're going through it so that you can get the most out of it. Because I look at my surgery as an opportunity that was given to me. And I had to decide what I was going to do with that opportunity. I know it sounds a little off, but I decided that I was going to make the best out of it. And I have truly done that, and I will continue to do that moving forward. And part of that is also sharing my story. When I was going through the trenches of it, of mentally preparing for surgery and all like that, I was looking on social media for, channels or pages of patients who have gone through it and were talking about it in detail. That's what I wanted, because I'm a very detailed person, and I wanted to know everything that I could realistically expect from surgery. So I found videos that were like in collaboration with the patient and the hospital, and kind of that avenue, but it was like a short video. Or I found some, that patients would make about themselves, but it just didn't provide as much detail as I wanted. So once I, got through it and started recovering, I said, since I needed that and I couldn't really find it, then I'm going to fill this void and provide it for anybody who's going through this in the future, or any kind of surgery, really. It doesn't have to be brain surgery, but obviously this is very specific. So that has been such a positive effect from surgery, is just talking about it and sharing my story. I've had some people reach out to me saying that they went through something very similar. They found their tumor in a similar way by their gynecologist, which initially seems very strange, but once you learn about parts of the brain, it completely makes sense. So that has also been one of the biggest positive effects, is just talking about it and putting it out there on social media. So if you are going through a difficult situation, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you are able to at some point kind of sit back and reflect on what's happening and what is positive from it and what could potentially be a positive, and really focus in on that, because there is something. So if you're going through any kind of situation like that where it's very difficult in the moment, you know, and you can't see, maybe you can't see a positive, you know, comment down below, and, you know, I'd love to discuss it, you know, try to help you through it if I can. I don't have a ton of other experiences that are really difficult, but, you know, I learned a lot from brain surgery. So, you know, put your experiences down below and let's talk about it.